truth's got to be coming, or it's not. Now, I'm an advocate of truth, and I'm following my own timetable. If something comes before
Advocate of truth, meaning someone gave you that truth.
Yeah, of course.
Or something.
The father wrote that.
Well, this is what I'm saying about the Bible, because first of all, people say, "Oh well, man wrote that."
Yeah,
yes, he
the
did.
thing
You don't
is,
expect dolphins and dogs to be writing Bibles.
Like every other prophet, the time comes where you've got to prophesy, and it'll be either true or false.
Prophet, yeah. And there have been many come with my name saying, "I have sent them," when I've sent them not.
If I'm going to say that I'm a prophet, then the time will come when I've got to prophesy.
Well,
and it'll either be
again,
true
we've
or
all
false.
got to be careful what we say these days, because we will be measured by it. If you say, "I never do anything such and such," you're going to get tested.
Can I even say that I never do such? Man, I've been.
Best to say nothing.
Yeah, I have done. If there's something bad to do, chances are I've probably had a hand in it somewhere along the line. Yeah. That's not what I'm about.
Right.
But there is a God.
Right. And since we know that there's not a man born without sin, and you read the Bible, did you expect that you weren't going to see the sins of those men written clearly and honestly? Could people today write their own life story as honestly as that?
It's not about my goodness as a man. It's about God. And if he's going to bring a universal message to every man for the upliftment of man, then yeah, he's going to have to make do the best with what we've got on earth, which is humanity in the state that it's in.
Is humanity pointing to the good coordinates or the bad
coordinates? Does sin mean that I have somehow lack, or that I have lacked at some stage of my development and maybe still lack? No. But there is sufficiency in God, and in time I'll recognise that and I'll be able to overflow from sufficiency.
Well, our cultures, respectively, if you're born in a certain part of the world, it's Islam. If you're born in another part of the world, it's Buddhism or Judaism. Our cultures start with these familiar stories, don't they? As a basis, and everything else is built on top of that.
No, Jules, what we have now, in terms of me and you in this room, is
what's the highest form
of history of blah blah blah, but it doesn't really matter. We have these stories now. The point is, what's going to be proved from this point onwards in terms of the truth.
I'll give you an example. The law, when you go to court, they'll say, "Wait, in this country, you go to court." And they say you swear upon the Bible. Now, what's that all about? Swear upon the Bible? It's a myth. Nobody believes in it. But, there's this big but. You can, something different can happen to you just based on the book you don't believe in and the laws that you don't respect, let's say. Well, stuff will happen to you if you carry on like that. Mark my words. It has an effect. It has a real manifestation in the world.
Does it?
And as much as people might fight against it, if you're fighting against it, it's almost like they're telling that this is the test. This is the time and who's testing? We say it's Judas. Well, if there was no Judas, there would be no
crazy Jules.
What? I know.
You're saying there's going to be repercussions because people swear in the Bible and lie.
No. The Bible says that, but what I'm saying is that I don't lie.
You don't lie.
When I'm talking the truth.
What happens if you think you know the truth but you don't really know the truth? Is that lying?
No. That's not lying. That's telling what you know. Truth be told, you just don't know.
The truth as you see it, or the truth as you want to see it.
The truth as it makes sense and as I comprehend it. I don't know how others come to that. Some people are in conflict. I'm not in conflict with the answers I'm giving. That's why it doesn't take a whole heap of time to think about it, because it's a state of being, and therefore when it's a state of being, you're just describing the way you are being, which is like saying, is the light on or is the light off? Well, presently I can look with my eyes and the light is on, and therefore I'm describing a state of being. Now that's the difference between understanding it and overstanding it. Overstanding it is you're literally a state of being. So when I say I don't lie, if I've got to court and swearing on the Bible, I'm not going there with the intention to lie. that is totally contradictory to the things that I believe. I know where the power is. The power is in the truth. You tell the truth. It's always good to be saying truth. Nothing about that truth will change. You know? Even if you get a few more details about the truth, it's still the truth. You know? The measuring is going on. Some people are maybe aware that there's something higher than ourselves that's guiding this. Some people are aware or suspect that perhaps the government know all along what they're doing, and this is just part of the plan. And that makes a lot of people suspicious, doesn't it? But likewise, they're suspicious of us, and that's why we're being investigated as well. You know, people generally are being spied on because everybody's trying to figure out, who are you? Who are you?
Yeah, people should be asking that of themselves.
Ah. So why is the world cut up and divided by a ruler on a map? Because they measured the world before measuring themselves. And that's why the true core and the true answer, the true solution for everything that needs to be done is to make people look at themselves, recognize the love that exists within themselves, and expression of love needs to be seen more and more. Every time you're nice to a human being, you're bringing that love out into the world. Christ knew the message was to give.
You just be nice to yourself.
Yeah, but
and what's wrong with that?
All right, that's fine. But let's just look at it from those that are not.
It's a reflection of yourself, and you're being nice to yourself.
All right, but let's look at it.
Went around being nice to themselves in terms of, oh, there's a reflection of me. Let me be nice to that reflection of me.
Yeah, I know that.
And everyone does that. Everyone's nice to each other. Is that somehow?
No, that's it. That's what it needs to be. And it doesn't matter who it is, because you got to love your enemy now. And I'm not saying that like it's a weakness thing. Nobody's scared of people.
Party on dudes. But
what? Yeah, party on dudes. What do you mean? Why? Listen. What? How many films has Keanu Reeves been in? And now you're telling me, The Matrix and Bill and Ted.
It's not just about party on dudes. There's something which precedes it. Yeah. Be excellent to one another.
Okay.
Be excellent to one another.
Yeah.
Is there any moral harm in that? Maybe you're actually being morally harming yourself in that you're somehow not being as covetous, or you're not being as.
I just don't like the fact that, like you said before, we had these buildings, and look at you called it superfluous design. The beauty, some would call that beauty and artwork and caring.
Really? Yeah. Some people.
Well, look at what we now they'll just build a brand new brick building with no features outstanding, and that's the church.
You've got so much money that you're not just going to build your house. You're going to make this extravagant little thing which does fuck all.
Doesn't mean that everybody's house can't be like that.
We who work for you are eating stones in amongst our bread.
But was it their church or was it our church
fingers
at that time?
And knuckles in flagging factories.
Was it? The church has been around for a long time. It's been through all kinds of history.
Too long, some would say.
Too long? Well, I think that's down to us then, isn't it?
Is it?
To keep training wheels on for as long as possible.
Training wheels? What do you mean?
Well, they are training wheels.
It's not a train. It's not a train.
Philosophically, we needed that.
It's a box. You've not needed it. You'd have done better without it.
I don't think so. What would have replaced it? Better the devil you know, the devil you don't. If you was to actually read it with sincerity, the moral of the story, we'd all probably end up agreeing.
A person can't work out for themselves what this or that. Therefore, they must go through us and pay their teeths and do what we say, and we will be judged.
I know about that. But what I'm saying is that's just one way of looking at it now. Another way of true open-mindedness now is to consider the other as yourself. Consider that they know the same things that you know, or have access to it. I mean, they've got a whole bunch of people working for them, and they've got all the books. You wouldn't have one book to be able to read to claim any knowledge you have if they hadn't have actually given it to you. So here's the thing, here's the conundrum. Are they doing it for good? Are they doing it for evil? That's the thing that people want to know.
What are they?
Is there an ultimate good that passes through some evils because it looks like, oh, you're trimming the fat, you're making me do this, you're making me exercise. I don't want to exercise. I don't know. It's like all the car companies are now making electric bikes. Why do you think that is? Because they know, or the future transport, or the future transport, or the future, and the transport of the future is going to be the bloody bike. Like it or not, hydrocarbons, petroleum, gas is running out. It's a fact. I'm not saying that there isn't still ample for everybody, but thinking about things, think about the Earth and all generations. In our generation, we've used up probably 90% of all the fuel that exists naturally. So anybody that comes after us, they're not going to have those resources if we use every single last drop. It might be a good idea just to have some in reserve, because let's face it, the human race has survived for a long time without that. And look at what decadence it gives us when we do have it. You're talking about the superfluous. Don't you think a lot of the stuff we got going on now is superfluous? What have they replaced it with? Oh, he doesn't have the superfluous, I have it. I have not them as the shoes, not them. But it's still not enough, is it? When will it be enough? People with 20 TVs in every room and 10 mobile phones that they don't use anymore, and could throw away half the dinner at dinner time and say, oh, I'm suffering, me. How is that suffering? By comparison, it's not suffering, And our real duty is not really met just by looking at, people in England and saying, well, help people in England. What about people who are starving in Africa? That's real duty, isn't it? That's real responsibility. Our technology, our intellect could answer a lot of problems over there. That's the real mission. In myself, once you start to sort yourself out, everything works. And, once you put the love in yourself, you express the love to others, and expressing the love to others, they get it. His Majesty, Haile Selassie, said there's only one solution to the poverty problem, and that is work. Maybe it doesn't take a genius to say that. However, is there anything wrong with that statement as it's said there?
Yes.
Well, okay. What would you say is wrong with that statement? There's only one solution to the poverty problem: work. And you're saying there's something wrong with that statement. Okay. Is it missing something, first of all?
Well, I don't know, you get passages in the Bible which say, be still and know that I am God.
Right.
Yeah. So some of the most important battles, these real fights. Didn't have to lay a finger, didn't have to lift a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Work's done.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that we get to know God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With God and the love and understanding. Because love on itself, it casts it all sorts of illusions. Makes us see things which aren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't see things which are there. But with understanding as well, true understanding which comes with God, so you can see past the illusion still.
Well, you remember when you was a kid?
And recognise the real relationships between things.
Remember?
The truth, basically what I'm saying is, it goes beyond work. Although in terms of work and faith, that you make a distinction of in the Bible, yeah. But works without faith is dead. Yeah, you've got to be a living avatar of the true spirit. So yeah, it's a different kind of work in that you've actually got to perform what otherwise could be has been a confession of faith and that's been good enough. No, it's gone beyond words.
Well, do you remember this one? Speaking of faith, right? Blessed is he who has not seen and yet believe. Believe
what? Better is the person who's seen
not
and understood.
Well, I'm going to add this. Better is the person who's not seen and yet believe. But more blessed is the person who has seen and yet still believes.
No. Belief is one thing, understanding is another. Believe anything.
I think the latter, and why I'm saying that is because when you go through this whole journey, you go through your north and your south, talk about a world-changing cataclysm.
Belief is like hedging your bets.
Let me finish what I'm going to say anyway.
Seen and yet still believe. That's like what you've seen can win over despite what you've seen with your eyes. If there's a contradiction, you've fallen on the side of belief. That's dogma and the sort of blindness that I'm talking about when I'm criticizing Christianity.
Blessed is those who have not seen and yet believe. So, in other words, what Christ was talking about at that time, he had his disciples, they'd seen the reasonings, they'd seen the miracles, yeah? But this man, who had not seen anything, he'd only heard it, right? Blessed is he who has not seen and yet believe. Okay? Now, that statement, who was that statement for? Was that statement for the man who had not seen and yet believed, or was that statement for his disciples? Who, listen, you've seen. You have seen, disciples. This man hasn't seen, and look how his behaviour is. That to me is the key message. Sometimes the zeal in the human being, right? Because Christ was a master of those parables and metaphors, and the way he would use that to describe the human condition so effectively. It would communicate across all sorts of generations of
disciples didn't understand what he was talking about.
Right. Yeah, they'd seen it all.
Because he's living on a different wavelength. He's living in reality, and they're on the outside,
right?
And he's describing what it's like on the inside.
Yes, and he's saying, "Get inside," and they're thinking, "What? We've got to get inside you."
I'm the door.
Yeah, but if you take it to meaning that,
or you don't.
Yeah, well, if you take it that Christ means that he's speaking about himself and saying, "I, the physical flesh, you see me, I'm the door." Well, that's why we're looking at it, because you read the Bible and there's Christ, and he's mentioned in it, and there's the door to that type of thinking.
Yeah,
then there's another way of looking at it.
Disregard the entire interpretation of the book.
There is a duality in all things, if not more multiple realities. We've already spoke about the multiple gods. You know, yet there's one God of creation, one overall fathomable universe that we call the ultimate one God. And the laws are like gods, you know, are like angels. We've described it in many different ways. These are just spiritual forces that, before we had science, needed some kind of explanation. We needed to be able to communicate. We needed to convene a language that we all understood. And so, before, you know, it got the tools of science to be able to measure it, we had pseudo-belief. We had myth.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make it any less true.
Spiritual life isn't necessarily all that can be measured. It's an understanding. It's a sphere in which understanding is intuitive, almost instinctive,
and emotional. It has an effect emotionally.
It has its emotional content. It does have its emotional content.
Yeah, I mean, unless
which is maybe less scientific, but if it's felt with an immediacy, as it happens, you understand it as part of, and maybe that's a form of.
Yeah, I mean, is it meaningful?
But it certainly becomes meaningful. Because it's like, oh yeah, I understand that in terms of me and what I understand. Look, of course, everyone should understand things in terms of what they themselves understand. If it's what someone else understands, that you're seeing everything through the world.
Yeah,
that's
through the other.
That's the power of the priest right there.
Yeah.
It's a parasite.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of what Messiah does is say, look.
But people allow that parasite because it's safer, they think, than thinking and taking responsibility for their own actions. There's a bit of a scapegoat for that, because it's kind of like, well, if he teaches me wrong, I can just blame the priest, can't I? I can just, give a donation to the church and it's all right. All the sins that I won't really even think about, because if you're not character building, then you're not really in anything. You're not doing anything with your time. You're just, you're a Frankenstein of what culture has created. You're just this mishmash of ideas. I'm a bit of the football, whatever fan. I'm a bit of what my boss tells me to be. I'm a bit of what my wife tells me to be. I'm a bit of, from the newspapers. But what are you really? Because you're none of those things. You have been given all of that, and once you strip all that away, you find you are nothing. And therefore, the beginning of knowledge, is that you are nothing. And there is no flag. You understand? There is no spoon. You are nothing. The beginning of knowledge, the beginning of wisdom, is to know nothing.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's how it's done. You're born and you know nothing. And once a man and twice a child. If you're going to really grow, you have to accept that you're going to have to become a child again in order to remove the concepts. Because actually, if what you knew was false, then you know nothing. And to repeat it after that is foolishness, isn't it?
It's a gamble we all make, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's where solipsism comes in now, because you've had a concept for so long. Like, all right, I'll pick on myself for a minute. Oh, you believe in that Bible, are you? Well, it's time to get rid of that. Oh, you don't want to. Oh, well, that's solipsism then, isn't it? Because you don't agree with what everybody else is saying is what it should be. Well, how do you know what I got out of it? Just because you didn't get what I get out of it doesn't make me wrong, doesn't make you right. The key to all of it is, do you accept me? Just like that book you don't like, do you accept it though? Do you accept that's what's written? Do you tolerate it? Can you tolerate such a way of thinking that doesn't come to unite but comes to divide? To tolerate it. Ooh. What does that tell us about ourselves and about the other?
Community and division now still.
Community and division?
There can be unity in division. I mean, an orange has its different segments, but it's still one orange.
Yeah. It makes it easier to digest than try to shove all orange in your mouth.
I don't know, you can still shove an orange in your mouth.
But the Bible's broken down into chapters, and you can read it a chapter a day, and therefore you're not trying to shove the whole orange or bag of oranges in your mouth. And a lot of people, they just don't know how to read a book like that. They come with all these misconceptions, and really just, it is what it is. It says what it says. You either accept that's what it says, or you're rejecting it for some other reason. And that's not how you read something if you want to know what that's all about. If you wanted to read a book, a fiction, but you don't accept anything that's written in it, and you say, no, it doesn't say all those words, and no, I don't like it, I don't agree with it. Well, all good literature will challenge the reader, and the reader creates that universe, what he's reading, and everybody gets their own perspective. And that's what's great about books as opposed to a film. You read the book, and you'll see your own little world. And because you helped to co-create it,
I think
you care about that world.
The nice thing is to maintain a level of self-exploration. People should be allowed to explore themselves. If there's any mental inhibitions as regards to religious dogma, we've got
taboos.
Do
religious taboo.
Because I think as long as we're not hurting ourselves or each other.
Yep. Well, hence, why is political correctness tolerated?
There's a certain,
but tolerance of other things is not tolerated.
All we've got to do, really, the immediacy of it, is we've got to understand that person there, over that country, is a brother in a a spiritual sense,
But
which can be understood quite
But
simply.
are you prepared to let go of the reins, right? Just like a parent has to stop trying to parent their children one day and let them be their own adult. And it's a scary moment because you know, wow, you are going to make mistakes. You hope that you've taught them well.
First things first.
And I think it's a bit too late to spend all your time worrying.
Just understand how you relate to each other in terms of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And the New Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it needs.
And the gates.
It needs new Jedi's. It needs new teachers, new gurus.
People teach themselves, man. Explore yourselves.
Yeah, but your children still look to you.
Don't think of it in terms of nations anymore. Not with these national boundaries. They've got to go. They're a hindrance to us.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to understand the world as one unity.
With its
subtle distinctions, because let's face it, a whole group of countries get sunlight at a different time than the whole of the countries.
Mm-hmm.
But all of those people in that same line get the sun at the same time. The brothers in the same time zone.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are getting there.
And guess what? Those people in a different time zone have also are brothers in a spiritual sense.
You know,
and once we understand that principle, well, we've got to learn how to live together as brothers and sisters, because we're all brothers and sisters. Now, religions, whatever. Mine's a super religion. It's the truth.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to what you were saying about, you know, letting people live, but at the same time thinking they don't know anything.
Well, guess what? Everyone's got to explore themselves as fully as possible.
People know a lot, man.
Necessarily one way of life.
I'm so pleased.
But explore your life. It's good to explore your life. Explore yourself. Explore your relationships with explore God. It's a magical universe.
It is, and I'm so pleased that I'm seeing the reflection in others of the great knowledge that they really have, and it's great. It's great. The synchronicity that it attracts. It's good for your health. Least of all, there's a lot of people out there. Just the main message of what I give to them is, it's time for the solution think. Going down the problem think road will just take over your life, and life is to be lived. If there's no practical use for these things other than to engage in endless debates that never resolve with a happy ending, then you've missed the point. It's like, I can write notices, but can never get the answers that I want. Then you're stuck, aren't you? And that's not what life is about. That's why everybody wins or everybody loses. Everybody agrees or everybody disagrees.
We're in it together.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got to learn how to get along.
It's the same.
It's better for me if I can live in peace with people. Yeah, and they don't want to get on alongside of me.
There is no adversary except you.
I've got some big backup, but I don't want to use it because that looks bad on me as well. So it's like you've got to learn to get along.
Yeah, there is no adversary except the enemy within, the fear within yourself, and that must be overcome. And the only way you overcome the fear, really, is to confront.
If another person confronts you and you can't see them as your brother or your sister, maybe they're adversary.
It's learning the tools.
The lover, the secret lover, I don't know.
It's learning the tools to heal one another.
Can I trust you because you're my brother? Because Messiah always says, it's like my brothers and sisters are those who are on my wavelength and understand God as I understand it.
Yeah, can do the things that Christ did. They can heal the sick. Now, did he mean?
It's not just about healing the sick.
Right, you got people today that are spiritually, they have the same afflictions, the same sicknesses, blindness. Some are dead internally and are brought back to life by these words, and that is the same thing.
Yeah, but
that is the metaphor. That is the message.
Humanity's been cut into pieces, and those pieces can be put back together to bring the whole of humanity back to life, as it were, under God.
Yeah. Well, like this,
it's all good.
This tune, it is all good, but in a way, it relies on the same key social references that, this is how you find love. Nobody to love. Well, Love yourself for a start. Are you worth loving? Are you doing everything that you possibly can to make yourself a great human being? Not just settle for average. People settle for average all the time, and then they wonder why they don't ever achieve the things that they want to achieve. You know, the whole prosperity of the nation really depends on people sorting their own heads out and realizing that the real world, for that to manifest, well, you want realness? This is as real as it gets. Responsibility. Do you like it? It's real.